Next on Worcester News tonight, possible sites for a new Doherty High School are discussed, but it seems there is still plenty of debate as to where the new school will go. Plus, Worcester celebrates the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11's moon landing, as well as a local man's connection to the historic event. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Lemmon. A beautiful summer day across central Massachusetts, but as we look ahead to the rest of the work week, there is a threat of showers and thunderstorms. Let's get a first look at our local forecast for more. Hey there, meteorologist Pamela Gardner. Good evening to you. Our humidity increases this evening and we are tracking temperatures in the low 90s across Worcester County tomorrow. So it is a first alert day with the heat, the humidity, and there's a chance for an isolated morning shower, but then a round of afternoon and evening thunderstorms, some of which could be strong to severe. There's a weekend heat wave likely too, with 3 or more days at 90 degrees or above, even for Worcester. And we're going to be tracking in the 90s and getting close to the century mark in some communities too. But first, for the rest of this evening, we stay warm in the 70s by 9, by 11, and it does become more humid. Overnight tonight, not cooling off too much as a warm front has lifted to the north and east. Well, 72 degrees in Worcester, 74 in Fitchburg for the low, the wind from the south-southwest. Tomorrow afternoon, we approach the 90-degree mark in Worcester as well as for Fitchburg. And it does become very humid for the next several days, Wednesday through Friday. And by Friday, that's when we will see that heat wave begin, when we will see temperatures in the mid to upper 90s coming up in your 10-day forecast. Thank you, Pamela. A new Doherty High School is set to open in less than 5 years, but the city and hired architects are still trying to find the best location. Right now, there are 3 possible options, each coming with their own pros and cons. Our Brittany Schaefer is live in Worcester with more. Brittany.
Olivia, I'm at one of the proposed sites now. The other options include Foley Stadium and Chandler Magnet School, as well as Doherty Memorial High School behind me. City Manager Ed Augustus says the decision depends on a few factors, including the students, the neighborhood, and the cost. The city unveils 3 possible locations to build the new Doherty Memorial High School. The current site, Chandler Magnet School, and Foley Stadium are all being considered.
The needs of a 1,600 student high school with the appropriate fields and parkings to support that. So there's not a lot of sites within the Doherty quadrant that would fit that area. So kind of boil down to these locations.
Each of them have some good points and each of them have some challenges.
Doherty students currently play many of their home games at Commerce Bank Field at Foley Stadium. Worcester Public Schools Superintendent Maureen Benenda says having their playing fields closer to school would be convenient.
For such a long time, students at Doherty have to walk to Foley Stadium. So if it was at the current school site, there could have certainly be some fields built there, but I think wherever they build it, it would be really, really nice if the fields could be, right around the school.
City Manager Ed Augustus says it would be cost efficient to build at the current site.
The city doesn't have to purchase additional property for the high school, could do it all on that location without impacting the park.
The school is built on Newton Hill, surrounded by walking trails, parks, and a disc golf course. Friends of Newton Hill President Rick Miller says rebuilding here would ruin some of the group's hard work.
They could literally use the 20 acres and put in retaining walls and accommodate everything they need. But that would severely alter the park and how it exists today. We'd lose at least a third of the disc golf course and a good section of the Highlander Loop, which is a key component of the trail network. It never was a good site to begin with.
The school is set to open in 2024. Augustus says a site hasn't been decided yet, and it's an important decision.
There's going to be pros and cons, but at the end of the day, we have to decide something that makes sense from an educational point of view, a neighborhood point of view, and a cost point of view.
Another community meeting will be held in August. Benendez says the decision on where to build must be made by mid-September. Live at Doherty Memorial High School, Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
Worcester police are asking for the public's help as they investigate a shooting sending a man to the hospital. The shooting happened shortly after 9 last night on Outlook Drive. Police say a 23-year-old man was injured in the shooting. He was taken to the hospital but is expected to be okay. The gunman is still on the run. If you have any information, police want you to give them a call. A Worcester-based business claims it's owed almost $30 million for the work they've done at the Encore Boston Harbor Casino. But Suffolk Construction says Coghlin Electrical Contractors has not documented its claims, and they have engaged in, quote, unfair business practices. They say Coghlin has consistently failed to provide supporting documentation for a majority of its remaining claims as required by the signed subcontract. Coghlin president and owner Sue Mailman says the claims are a result of change orders. She says they could not be calculated until the project was over and should have been expected.
These projects were supposed to be about economic development for the state, and we're the subcontractors that are hiring the skilled tradespeople in our communities. And if we're hurt, that has an impact in the communities that we live in. So it's an impact in Worcester for employment for electricians and people that work for me. So.
Mailman says all of her workers have been paid, but she still owes money to about a dozen vendors and benefit funds. She's waiting on around $27 million from Suffolk to pay them. The former Barber Crossing restaurant in Worcester has been vacant for more than 10 years. Today, the West Boylston Street building was torn down. Residents and city leaders have pushed for this for a long time. One former city councilor called the building an eyesore, blight on the community, and hazard to first responders in a Facebook post. And District 1 Councilor Sean Rose called today a, quote, wonderful day for the Greendale and Burncove neighborhood. Today marks the 50-year anniversary of the first manned mission to the surface of the moon. Worcester has a special connection to the flight. Dr. Robert Goddard invented the liquid-fueled rocket decades earlier in central Massachusetts. Our Rosalind Flaherty joins us live now with more. Rosalind.
Olivia, Goddard went to WPI and Clark. Many people today say they hope this day will help inspire the next generation.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It may be 200 times smaller than the original rocket, but there was still plenty of excitement as dozens gathered at the Ecotarium to watch a reenactment of the Apollo 11 launch.
We want to inspire that next generation of scientists and people who are just passionate and care about science.
The world is remembering the historic mission 50 years ago today, where 3 men set off to the moon. WPI President Lori Leshin worked at NASA.
It's such an inspiring moment to be able to look back and celebrate what is probably humankind's greatest achievement.
WPI student and professor Robert Goddard invented the kind of rocket Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins would later use to get to the moon.
In 1914, he patented a liquid-fueled rocket.
The Ecotarium says the technology is only going to get more advanced, so they say it's important for people to celebrate this moment.
100 years ago, there weren't that many people who were thinking of landing on the moon, so who knows what the kids are thinking about doing 50 years from today.
NASA says they want to go back to the moon by 2024. Olivia.
All right, thank you, Rosalind. And the JFK Presidential Library in Boston is marking the 50th anniversary as well. It's launched JFK Moonshot. It's a moon landing augmented reality app. The app will be taking users on a 5-day trip from the Earth to the moon. The library's executive director says the trip is a way of paying tribute to JFK's legacy.
He galvanized folks. There were 400,000 people working between government and universities and private sector to bring a man to the moon. And we want to both honor that great legacy, but also going forward. And one of the ways is to use a new technology, augmented reality, to encourage people to think about the technological advances.
And the JFK Library will also be holding special events on Saturday, the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. Meanwhile, Neil Armstrong's Apollo 11 spacesuit is officially back on display at the Smithsonian. Experts worked to renovate the decades-old suit ahead of the 50th anniversary. At a ceremony celebrating the suit's unveiling, Vice President Mike Pence reflected on the important unifying role the moon landing played in history.
On top of the contributions to science and human understanding, for that brief moment, the man who wore this suit brought together our nation and the world.
And if you want to check out the suit, you can visit the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. It's the first time in 13 years the suit has been on display. The state's Public Health Committee hearing testimony about bills banning the sale of flavored tobacco products like Juul pods. Some legislators believe too many teens are using e-cigarettes. Abby Nisgoda has the latest.
Mint, that was my go-to. Definitely mint. Mint, mint, mint.
Matt Murphy isn't talking about flavors of candy.
I mean, I like the mango.
He's talking about the flavors that got him addicted to e-cigarettes when he was a junior at Reading High School.
Quitting was extremely difficult for me. I tried almost 10 times before I was finally successful.
It's why he and other teenagers spoke out at the State House to try and fight the flavor, what they say is fueling nicotine addiction among young people.
Way too many. I would say 7 out of 10 of the people I know.
And that has some state lawmakers so concerned they're calling for a statewide ban on all flavored tobacco products.
The bottom line is these companies are doing nothing but making money.
They made their case at a packed hearing in front of the state's Public Health Committee. But on the other side are store owners like Janish Patel.
It would affect us very negatively.
He says stores like his that ask for ID are not the problem, so a blanket ban is not the answer.
If you stop us from selling it, you're not stopping the online retailers, and the kids are going to get it either way.
Juul, one of the leading e-cigarette brands, says their product exists to help adult smokers switch off of cigarettes, and they're committed to keeping it out of the hands of young people.
Addicted kids means addicted adults.
Still, young people like Matt Murphy say more needs to be done, and these lawmakers think they have the support to do that.
If we fail to make it happen, how are we going to look these kids, the next generation, in the face?
Now, if this bill makes it out of committee, it will really be a race against time to get a vote in before the session is over at the end of this month. At the Massachusetts State House, I'm Abby Nisgoda, Worcester News Tonight.
Switching gears now, WWE SmackDown Live is taking over Worcester tonight. Superstars will be in the ring at the DCU Center. This is the brand's first show coming out of Extreme Rules. Tuesday, superstar Ali stopped by the studio to discuss what people can expect at tonight's show.
WWE is everything you want it to be. We have comedy, we have action, we have storytelling. It is live action Broadway, you know, and you've got these spectacular athletes in these high pressure situations where we really don't know what's going on. It's a classic story of good versus evil, light versus dark.
And tonight's show starts at 7:45. Coming up next, we'll get a full check of our local forecast. Plus, the Worcester